Hi, everybody, and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Aaron, with my co-host, Mike. He says hi. We want to thank you all for watching on whatever podcast, videocast, or however streams you happen to be watching it on. And also, remember, to get more podcasts and more great content, remember to please subscribe below and also hit that like button. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, I'm not wearing pants. Don't fucking kid yourself.
So, what you wearing?
We'll get to that, right? You gotta sweet talk me a little bit, all right?
I gotta take you to dinner.
What's going on, boys? How are you?
Very good.
All right.
How's the weather over there? Do you guys get power, or do you guys go out, or?
Yeah, it was flickering for a couple hours today. It was fucking weird as shit for a bit, but we're all good now. You can't kill Oshawa, man. We'll never die. So.
I think if an atomic bomb drops, the only thing left will be cockroaches and Oshawa.
Yeah, it's getting better, but I love my city, man. I shit talk it all the time, but it's because it's my city. I'll say what I want.
The one thing I wanted to ask you related to that is, what is the worst city in Ontario, and why is it Brampton?
I don't know. I haven't spent enough time out that way to really piss and moan about it. I only have like comparisons to Oshawa. So there's like Sarnia and London and places like that are dives too, right? But they're all every city's got their shit neighborhoods, right? So I don't know.
Of course.
My dealing with Brampton is the Ontario Open. I'm in and out, and that's it. So that's all I got. I can't say nothing bad about those people.
You've pretty much seen all of Brampton if you've been in and out for the Ontario Open.
Yeah.
That's the only good thing about Brampton is that one weekend you get in that one spot and then everybody leaves right away.
Now it's in Oshawa, so I'm like,
well, yeah.
Yeah. That tournament last year was incredible, man. It was the best. I'm never going back. Yeah, you know what? I'm never going back to Brampton again. That's right.
There you go.
It's excellent.
Fuck Brampton.
Yeah, exactly.
That's gonna be a shirt one day.
Yeah.
So everybody, welcome to the podcast. Today we have Justin Bruckmann on with us from Bruckmann Martial Arts, aka Rebel Alliance MMA, and the host of the Justin Bruckmann Adventure. How are you, sir?
I'm pretty good. I'm better now. I'm bored as shit. I got someone to talk to. I mean, not a real person, but pretty close. You know what I mean?
It's almost close.
Yeah. No, I'm good, man. I'm just trying to navigate this shit show just like everyone else, right? It's weird, man. Like, yeah, it's weird and stressful, but I'm happy and healthy, and so is everyone in my house and my circle. So what can you do, man? I'd like to work and train, but you know, we'll get there eventually. So
we'll get there. Yeah. Like, has Oshawa gotten into phase 3 yet, or are they still outside? Yeah. You guys are still outside.
Yeah. We're pretty close right down to downtown Toronto too, right? So like we're screwed for a bit. Who knows? And like it's really confusing on what to do, because like the province will tell you one thing, and then the bylaw will tell you something else, and then your PSO will tell you something. Like, so I'm not even going near it. I'm just staying closed, because I don't want to have a bunch of people in my place to sit and do fucking solo drills anyway, man. It'll suck my soul out, right? So like
it's not what you signed up for when you started teaching martial arts.
Oh my God, like it's changed. We've already watered this down. So you guys have been training for years, so you know as well, right? But like we've already watered it down quite a bit. Mm-hmm. So if you want me to just come in a room and teach 8 kids how to shrimp and do cartwheels, like I'll literally snap. You know what I mean? Like I don't know, man. I didn't get a spinal injury to sit back and teach kids how to break dance. You know what I mean? Like they should be fucking each other up at this point. So like I did like, no, you know what? It's just the most important thing for me with training is that it's a social interaction, but man, you need to be uncomfortable every single day. And that's not what, like, we can't put ourselves in that position. That I don't want to, it's not worth the risk for me to have everyone back in the doors if we can't actually do like jiu-jitsu the way I want to teach it and the way I learned it. You know what I mean? It's just not worth it, right? So maybe as the restrictions ease up a little bit, that'll change. It'll change my mind. But for right now, I'm holding strong. Like, number one is everyone's safety. And, you know, whatever your opinion is on this whole situation, like mine is like, I just want everyone to be safe. So I'm just erring on the side of caution, you know what I mean? No matter what. So
you mentioned something big. We're going to start off with something controversial. Do you think jiu-jitsu is becoming, for lack of a better term, pussified in the last several years?
It's changed, not necessarily, right? Like it's every martial art that came to North America got watered down and sold, right? Like you see the karate guys from the 60s. I'm not fucking with those guys. I'll kill you. And the taekwondo the taekwondo guys in the early 80s and so judo guys, like they're all the original in the pure form of these martial arts that came over here. They're badasses, man. Like and then they put it up for sale and now you're selling belts and everything else. So it's been watered down in that respect. But I also think, with the point system and stuff like that, like now it's definitely, you still got to be a stud and you still got to be tough to excel and make it to a high level, but guys aren't fighting anymore. You know what I mean? Like, and when they tell me they are, I want to punch the shit out of them because you've like, it's a jiu-jitsu match. It's not a fucking fight. Like you're not in a fight, right? So it's still like, but it also depends on who's competing. You know what I mean? Like some guys are out there and they have that. I love that good wrestling grinding style when guys smash each other, but I appreciate all forms, but it's definitely changed. I wouldn't call it pussified, but I'd call it pussified a little bit. You know what I mean? No, yeah, I have two ways to look at, I learned jiu-jitsu to fight. You know what I mean? I wanted to do MMA, so you had to learn that. So I learned I learned it because I wanted to submit guys. Right. And then, but I still like the side of it that's like always evolving and growing because I compare it to like skateboarding or snowboarding where like you're just going and learning new tricks and trying them with or on your friends. You know what I mean? So that art side of it and the creative side, I love that too. But I was fucking born to kill and born to fight. And so when I see that side of it and guys comparing themselves to like, not to be like comparing yourself to me, like as a fighter or anyone else who's done, like MMA or boxing or something like that, I'm like, I'll fucking kill you. I don't know. It bugs me.
So I think it's safe to say that we actually have been asking a lot of our guests, is jiu-jitsu a fight? I think your answer, I'm going to speak for yourself right now, is fuck no.
No, not at all. And it is, man, it is a hard sport. It really is. Like you guys, you're all banged up. You get it. It is a really tough sport, but it's just a sport. It's a game. Right. Mm-hmm. And whereas in the consequences aren't that dire. You submit or you lose on points or maybe you twist an ankle, you know what I mean? Or go to sleep and piss yourself. Like, but like, when you've done MMA or even boxing, the kickboxing, stuff like that, like those things come with like some real repercussions, you know what I mean? So it's a little bit different. Like these guys who are fighting high level kickboxing, MMA, they go to the hospital when they lose, you know what I mean? So like to me, that's a fight. And the other thing with jiu-jitsu is like, you don't have to be a fighter to be good at jiu-jitsu. You can just be a great athlete. Right. And so I don't believe your heart is tested as much in jiu-jitsu as it is in like, a real tough combat sport, like, Thai boxing or something like that, you know what I mean? But it's still rugged. It's still hard as shit, you know what I mean? But I don't know. I guess because I've gone down so many avenues, you know what I mean? I've fought in so many different, competed in so many different sports, stuff like that. Like I know the difference, you know, because I've done it. So
how did you first kind of get yourself introduced? Because you started training jiu-jitsu for MMA. So yeah. How did that whole process even start?
Like, honestly, man, I'm a stereotype, like traumatic youth, angry teen, like one of the, and then just
get a lot of teen angst built up in you that you wanted to unleash on the world.
Yeah, no, and really that's what it was. It's like, man, I had a childhood that I wouldn't wish on anyone, and we can get in that another day or whatever. And it landed me, as a teenager, like, drinking and drugs and fighting and everything else. And when I squeaked out of high school, I was working a dead end job in some fucking factory, and I missed my ride to work one morning because I got in a fight. I was drunk and I got in a fight the night before, and I just was wandering around. I tell you, man, it was March 2nd, 1997. And I was wandering around the streets in the rain, and I just happened to stumble into this gym, and I talked to the owner. I'm like, listen, man, I'm dying. Like I gotta lift weights. I gotta do something. I don't have any money. I'm like, I'll sweep your floors. I'll do whatever. And he said, why don't you try some judo? See if you like it. Like, all right. So I did a class at noon, went back, did a class that night, went to job the next day, went to my work, like, fuck you. I quit. That's it. Never done anything else in my whole life, man. I just I was in a basement that had like 3 inches of water in the fucking thing. I gave up all my shit. I just packed everything into a bag and I slept on the mats and served couches for years. And here we are. That's it.
It was just one of those eureka moments where you're walking down the street and then there's just light being shined upon this.
Yeah,
gym.
just angels and shit. Yeah. No, but and it sounds cheesy, but it was. I knew that day. I'm like, this is what I'm doing. Like, because I saw just like everyone else. I saw Hoist in 1993, and I'm like, ooh, it wasn't Hoist, but like it wasn't Hoist till later that I realized that I wanted to do. I just saw the UFC, and I was like, yep, I don't know how, but I got to figure that shit out. So it was a few years after that, but that was like for my generation, that was the thing that set us all off. And for me, what made me walk into that gym was like the baddest dudes I knew were all judo guys, right? And so I wanted to go there, and I walked in, and I started with judo first, right? And then I met up with guys like Marco and Monkey and those guys like that, right? And then we started training jiu-jitsu together. And then like I think from almost 2 days from the day I stepped on the mat for the first time, I had my first MMA fight or something like that. So
okay. So that transition kind of like from that judo standpoint, then it was meeting up with Marco, Monkey, and then it was Professor Shaw. And did that all formulate right there and then, or is it kind of like a gradual thing?
Honestly, it was like the most natural thing ever. Like it was me and Antonio Carvello as well, and a few other guys. We were out on this end of the city, and we were kind of, because I want to fight MMA. We were looking for other guys that were kind of on the same path, and Monkey was fighting IFC back then. He was like the only guy. There was no fights yet. He was like one of the first people to do it. So I met him at a tournament, and then we kind of got invited to Shaw's, and like within like a month, we were like, all my team came down there. We became one like big team. Guys were coming from everywhere to train at Shaw's, and that was like just kind of the beginning of this whole group like that are still successful today.
Mm-hmm. It was love at first sight.
It was, man. It was. You've been around the monkey. How do you say no? You know what I mean? The little fella. Yeah. You don't get a choice, really. He'll take what he wants. So,
well, I think you talked about it as well. I think just you're out in like the East End, and then they were looking for fights as well. Was that like? Yep. I'm even thinking now, like kind of like MMA in Canada was like what you guys were formed. Was that like one of the first big kind of like, I guess you say competition teams or like? Yeah,
for sure. It was because there was a few events on the West Coast, and then there were some events in the Quebec area on the like the reservations and stuff like that, and then they formed UCC, which turned into TKO, and it was like me and a couple other dudes. We all fought on that very first show, and the teams there was Team Tompkins in Ontario with Mark and Sam and those guys. And then there was like us and a few other guys around the city. And we were like the biggest teams. At one point we held all the belts, and that torch kind of got passed over to Hominick and those guys. And then they, and then all the TriStar guys, and then they kind of took off from there. But yeah, for sure. We were the first, I'd say we were probably the first real team. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if we call it, we're the first ones to really start cross training as well. You know what I mean? That was something that made us really successful in the beginning, because I was like a judo guy. We had Sean Pearson, who was a wrestler, and like we all kind of just formed like fucking Voltron, and it all worked, you know, like, so it was we were probably one of the first teams in the country for sure.
It sounds crazy because thinking back, like in 2020 now, you look at MMA, it's like everybody's doing jiu-jitsu, everybody's doing wrestling, everybody's doing kickboxing. But like back when you were starting up, it's like you still have guys that are like, I'm a judo guy, but then when all you guys came in, it's like your different skill sets, like it's like you're showing people what you're good at, and then this guy's showing them what you're good at. It's like it's like a really, like, that's like, if you really think, that really is like the first kind of like conglomeration of what MMA actually like became to be like today, like in 2020.
For sure, right? Now, and we've all gone on become like specialists. So now because we made all this shit up right now. Like we winged it with our teammates. And now there's a jiu-jitsu coach and a wrestling coach and a boxing coach. And like, now we're those guys, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's pretty cool. It's fun because you get to you've been there and done that. So you got the respect of your students because they know you took the hard road too. Like, and I try not to put it on my kids, but I'm like, you motherfuckers don't know how good you have it. You know what I mean? Like,
and do you say this in like the littlest kid class to like 4-year-olds?
You know what? This is why I'll tell you. This is why people like me. I think is because I fucking tell the truth, man. I do. I always tell the truth. I might change how it's delivered based on who's in the room, but
who's the audience.
I'm gonna tell you the same fucking thing, man. I'm like, whether you're a 25-year-old stud or you're a 6-year-old kid in my little kid's class, gonna be like, I'll tell you what's up. And I'm like, you're probably not gonna be the best, but if you work hard, your odds are going to be a lot better than if you just lay around like a fucking slob. You know what I mean? Like Professor Justin's not giving it to you, man. Like you got to earn it, you little bitch. So I mean, that's kind of goes. Now let's say I smooth it out for the 6-year-old, but that's exactly how I tell a 25-year-old. You know what I mean?
This reminds me of the speech in The Waterboy with Lawrence Taylor, where he's giving a speech to all the kids. He's like, "All right, kids, now don't smoke crack." It's like,
easy enough.
6-year-old kid. He's like, easy enough. Sound advice.
Every grading, man, because I do my gradings like a certain way. You've probably seen them online. They're
enormous.
They're a show.
They're enormous.
Right?
You
but
just got everybody on the match.
If someone dies every time, right? But that's another story. So with the kids, but it's kids, the same thing. Like I go out there and smash the kids. Like I don't care, man. Like, and I don't. Gradings are free. I charge a donation. We give it all to charity every single time, and I make sure that they know that. And I make sure kids fail. Because if you didn't earn it, fuck you, you're not getting it. And I tell them the same speech every time. And new parents are always kind of baffled by it. From like, we'll sit down and be, all right, listen. I'm like, okay, we live in kids and they're 10. I'm like, we live in a world where, your mom and your dad and social media and your teachers, they tell you that you can grow up and be whatever you want. And I'm like, I'm here to tell you that you can't. And the parents and the parents all just stand there. Some of them heard the speech.
My mom said I could be an astronaut. No, John.
Well, you can't, right? And I'm like, I'm just being honest. And I'm like, that we all have limitations. But if you don't go and test those limits, you won't know what they are. So you got to get out there and you got to work hard and you got to push it all the time to find out what you're made of. If you don't do that, then you don't deserve shit, right? So hard work and discipline, and your odds of being successful are going to be greater. But don't think you're just going to get fucking given something because mommy and daddy told you were, or Instagram told you could be whatever you want, right? I'm your first real hard lesson in life, man. Like, you didn't work hard, you don't get a piece of tape on your belt, man. But I tell you, when he gets that little kid gets that piece of tape next time, man, it's fucking Christmas because now he gets it, right? Like, That's the best part about my job is I can say all the things that a teacher in an elementary school or high school can't say, right? And parents know that, bringing their kids to me in the first place. That's why they're there. Because they know I'm a hard ass. Like, I got a big heart and I treat people fair, but they know why they're signing their kid up with me, because I'm going to fail them. Because this kid's being given, right? And because this kid's given everything, I'm going to give them that hard lesson. That hard lesson is going to change them for the rest of their lives, right? So.
The big question I want to ask you, and I see this at a lot of schools, you probably see it as well. I think there's a balance between, we were talking about this, you hinted at it earlier, where martial arts is a business, like it's being sold.
Yeah.
Like your school is obviously, it's a business. Like you can't run it for free. Like you have to pay rent.
Yeah.
And then there's like the core roots of, what a martial art should be, hard work, dedication, courage, honor, all that. How do you find a balance between like the business side of things? Cause and the business side of things and like the martial arts side of things, do you find a balance, or you're just like, you know what, like this is the way it's going to be. This is the way I'm going to run my school. I don't care what other people are doing. You can't just, swipe your grading card, like, hey, I stamped my grading card. I have enough classes for a grading. Bitch, you got to learn how to.
Dude, I've never taken attendance in my place in my life, man. So, but with the business and the martial arts side is very simple. Okay, so I sell martial arts lessons. That's it. What you do with those lessons is all up to you. If you work hard and study the information and you practice and you're respectful and you do all the things we expect you to do on the mats, then you'll progress in your martial art, right? What I don't do is fucking sell belts. So you can take as many martial arts lessons as you fucking want and keep paying me for as long as you feel like. But if you're not putting in the work, you're still not getting the belt. The lessons are for sale. The belts aren't. That part's easy. The rest of it is hard. Like, because you guys know this is a personality like based and driven industry. You guys are at your academies because you love your instructors and your friends and your teammates, but you know the drama that goes on in these places between teammates, between the instructors, between different schools. Like, that's the hard shit, because when you're on top of the heap, like I am, like running a whole school and like maybe having 5 or 6 different schools work with me and look up to me, like there's a lot of people to manage and personalities. You got to make sure everyone gets along. I'm like, you don't even got to like each other. You just got to get along. That's the hard part, because there's always something going on, right? So it's not just business in the martial arts. It's like, then there's the community. So you have to like kind of figure out how to fucking juggle all those things.
It's a lot of shit to juggle.
It really is, right? You guys been around. Yeah, I can't even speak today. You guys know, like, you've been around for years and you understand how it works. You've seen people come and go. You know what I mean? And like, sometimes personalities don't fit, and they just wander in the door and wander out. Sometimes people stay forever, even though you don't want them to. You need those people too, right? So.
I've been trying to get rid of Aaron for years, and he just won't.
Not going anywhere. Not leaving.
Those are the best. They're the best ones, man. Those are the best ones. So,
have
like,
you noticed, especially? Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
Good.
But
yeah, you did.
Have you noticed how your teaching style or how you manage that community has changed over the years compared to like when you first started, or like?
Absolutely. I probably, like every other guy my age in the GTA is, or in Jiu-Jitsu, is like, we got in it, learned how to do it, fucking killed ourselves to get it done, and then decided that we only wanted to train competitors. And after about 3 weeks, we realized that we were going to be broke. And we're like, okay, so we got to switch this up a bit.
We need to find a balance.
Right? But that's the thing, is like, what I learned, it took me a long time to figure out, but like, if you treat Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or any martial art, if you treat it like a sport, it's going to break your heart. It's going to kill you and you're going to go broke. But if you treat it like a martial art, then you can have it forever. Anyone can. You can always ride that out. I'm going to be 90 years old. I'm going to like step my crippled ass on the mats and hang out with my friends. You know what I mean? Because it's not about winning. When you figure that out, then like learning how to teach and and kind of change things up for the group that you have in front of you, or even breaking up the group when you have them in there, it's a lot more easier, because you can't, like, the competitors are going to find a way to win anyway, right? The guys that really want to grow. So I teach the group, and the guys who are real studs, I'm like, okay, now we can add this in over here, and I'll make it a little tougher for you and speed up your drill and maybe smash on you a little bit. You guys, I don't water it down. I'll just change it so it's a little more, you know, it's a game of, like, it's more of a game, and then over here is a bit more of a sport. Like, you can't smash 8-year-olds, you know what I mean, with hardcore wrestling drills and be dropping them on their heads, and you can't do that to guys in their 50s too, right? You gotta figure out a way to balance it all, right? So the guys are recreational, pay the bills, and they just want to hang out and sweat once a day, and so you show them the techniques and you give it to them, and they'll figure out their own version. And the studs will drill the shit out of it at home because they don't have girlfriends, and then it all fucking works out from there.
Or drill it on their girlfriend.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, that shit's weird too. I'm like, I'll tell you, I'm honest, man. Like, when I go home, like, I don't think about jiu-jitsu. I don't watch jiu-jitsu videos. I don't dream about jiu-jitsu. I'm like, I'm done. I'm good. Like, those days are over, man. Like, every once in a while, something will pop in my head. But like, when I leave the mats, I'm like, I'm good for the day. I want to see these young guys who are like at home doing solo drills and doing this and do that and trying to get their girlfriends to train. I'm like, man, you guys are fucking insane to me. But like, I was probably like that once. I don't know.
I think it's just commenting. I think you've probably found a good balance between, like, you know, hardcore training and bringing in like the casual people. Like, I think you can't just, hey, okay, like, we can't just, you know, shrimp for an hour or go home.
Yeah.
But like you also can't murder them either. There's got to be a balance, and I think you find a good balance. Like with hardcore training, you don't have to hold everybody's hand. You can push people that are still or if they're 8 years old or they're 50, you can still push them in different ways. Yeah,
absolutely. You know what? One thing I really love about this is like you get to teach people how tough they actually are. They don't know. It's funny, like some people come in thinking they can't do it, and then you just give them a little more every day, and they find out how resilient they really are. And then you get the other side of the coin where these guys come in, they think they're badasses, and they find out they're pussies really quick. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, you've seen it. How many times you have a guy wander in the door saying, "I want to fight"? I'm like, well, that guy's going to be done in 2 weeks. You know what I mean? Because I'll have some little kid turn him inside out, and his ego can't handle it because he, you know what I mean? Like he goes from sucker punching people at last call to getting choked out by a 15-year-old. He just takes his tiny little dick and goes home. It's always the recreational guys that turn into the killers. They walk in just kind of wanting to try something new. And then they're like, "Oh, jiu-jitsu's fun. Can we do some wrestling? Can I do some boxing?" And boom, next thing you know, you're got someone in the cage. You know what I mean? So
me and Aaron both have stories of that. We're just like our first jiu-jitsu session going in. I'm going to try out this new thing because I just liked MMA. Like I was watching it. I was a fan. I did a jiu-jitsu class. I'm like, after that, I'm like, I need to do this more immediately. And I thought I was going to be like some big badass MMA fighter. I just love jiu-jitsu, and I just kept doing it.
Yeah, I agree. I still love it. I still love rolling. I still love when I can. You know what I mean? Like I love to fight more than anything in the world. Like I'll fight with no one watching. I don't need cameras. I don't need an audience. I just like fighting. I like that part of it. But jiu-jitsu is just fun, man. Like I mentioned earlier, it's just like going skateboarding, just rolling around, trying new shit. Like it's fun. I wish I treated it with my body with a little more respect so I can enjoy it even more now, because now I'm just a gimp. But like it is, if you treat it properly, man, you'll have it forever. Like, you know, you guys will be kicking the shit out of each other in your 60s. It's going to be amazing. You know what I mean?
So when you look back at all those hard training days that you guys did in the dungeon, I assume you guys would never want to change a thing, or would you want to change certain things? Or
no, no, man. Like I have no regrets, man. Like we had to learn the hard way to protect these kids now, and honestly, it was the best. It was the best, man. Like I was training with my best friends every single day, and every single day I'd stand at the top of those stairs like, fuck, this is gonna suck, right? And going because I know Sean Pearson's gonna beat the shit out of me, and Marco's gonna strangle me, and Monkey's gonna annoy me, and whatever. You know what I mean? Like it was scary every single day, and it was amazing. I couldn't wait for it. It was the best. Like, you know, the injuries and all the dumb shit we did, like. I don't regret any of it because now I can use my experience to protect these kids from themselves, right? Like I have a kid hurt. I'm like, you got to go home. That's it, man. Because you can't be, I have so many injuries with my neck and back. Like I'm fucked forever now. I would never want anyone to live as uncomfortably as I live. And now in the last few years with concussions and things like that too, I'm like, I don't want anyone to feel like I feel. You know what I mean? I'm sitting in a fucking dark room. I can't stand lights or smells and shit like that. I just spent the last year getting my brain poked at. You know what I mean? Like, but at the same time, like I took that risk away from a lot of people in this generation. So I wouldn't change it anyway. Number one, because it was so fucking fun. It was amazing. And number two, I'm like, I was paying my dues and paving the road to make it safer for other people so they can enjoy it, you know, and maybe have some more longevity and then pass it on to someone else. Right. So.
I gotcha. So when you look back at like your MMA days of like being in the ring with guys like GSP, David Alonzo, all those other guys as well in your pro career, what kind of like sense of feeling do you get from that kind of stuff?
I love it, man. I really loved fighting, and I love looking back in my career. I have no regrets. Like your wins and your losses just they're all the same. Right. And for me, it's always the George St. Pierre thing. You're like, you fought George St. Pierre. I'm like, I did. Yes, I did. How'd that go? I'm like, you saw it. Why are you asking me? 9 million people saw that video on YouTube. You know exactly. It was
a once. Sure, you asking me that?
I know.
You just look it up, dumbass.
Right? But I'm like, yeah, but I fucking did it, and like it's on my resume. Like no one knew that guy was going to be, you know,
Yeah, nobody would know that.
You know,
nobody
what I mean?
knew that he would turn into like one of the greatest MMA fighters. In history.
Yeah, right. But I'm a piece of his legacy. I watched his they did his the UFC did his Hall of Fame thing, and I was on his highlight reel. I'm like, right on.
Woo!
Like, he's just beating the piss out of me, but I was still there. I finally made the UFC.
You're in it.
So it was amazing. I wouldn't change it. Again, that's part of history. Like, George beat me to win his championship, and like 4 fights later, he's in the UFC, and another couple after that, he's the champion. Now he's considered one of the greatest of all time. Like, and I like being like, we were the first ones to do it in this country, and I met so many awesome people. Like David Loiseau, my friend. You know, George always stops, and we always talk when we see each other. And like I like every dude I ever fought except this one dude. And and if you go back through my resume, you'll know which one it wasn't, because I fucked him up for an extra round. But like, I love it. It was the round, best. Yeah. It was the best, man. I wouldn't change any of it. I'm really proud to be a part of that history in Canada. It was awesome. We made it up, and now look where we are now, man. Like, yeah, it's amazing. The wins and the losses, they teach you just so much, man. It made me the man I am today. I'm glad for all of it. Wouldn't change any of it.
And so, because recently you did a fight in Thailand, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
So what kind of like sparked that? Was it just one of those things where it's like, you know what, I want to do it because like you went to Thailand, you trained there, and you went?
It was I always had the fight in me, and I like to test myself, and just hooking up with the other schools in our area with like Cal Samrat and Muay Thai Whitby and a few other, it just started to really like get my MMA guys, and I jump in for sparring. I was getting better shape, and no one really ever taught me how to kickbox. So it was fun for me. I just started to train with proper coaches, and I'm learning. I'm like, and then I just showed up at a smoker one day, and someone's like, "Do you want to fight?" I'm like, "Yup." So I did that. And then a few months later, there was an actual card in Oshawa. So I jumped on that. And then my friend in Thailand, he's like, "Man, come do one here." And you could see you did it in Thailand, like did it in the homeland. I'm like, let's do it. It was the best experience out of my whole career. Was probably the greatest experience. Like my championships and pay-per-views and all this shit, that was the best thing I ever did, because I'd been retired for 15 years with like spinal injuries and this and that. And everyone was like, do it. You can do it. People started me a GoFundMe page and all this shit. They're like raised all the money and got behind me, and like it was just the biggest party. And I felt like people were sending me money from all over the world to go get this done. So I felt like a superhero. And then just to learn that style and go compete in it, like not at a super high level or anything, but like, and then, you know, and go go there and in the culture and do the Y crew and like have my best friends in my corner and stuff like that. It was probably the greatest night of my life. It was amazing. And then it was I never knocked anyone out before either. It was my first knockout. So that was fun. That's too. Awesome. So yeah,
it's amazing awesome. What good kickboxing training can do.
It's kickboxing is so underrated. Like I didn't know that I couldn't kickbox. I just know how to fight. You know what I mean? Like kickboxing is complicated, intricate shit. Just like jiu-jitsu, just like boxing. Like you think it's just throwing punches and kicks, and I'm like, there's so much to it, right? So I did a crash course for about 2 years, and then I was like, fuck it, let's try it, right? So I knew I could fight. So just had to figure out the rules, right? So
yeah. Is there anything currently on your bucket list? Competition, competitive career-wise, that's still there that you still want to accomplish?
Yeah, absolutely. I really wanted to do the Ontario Open this year, and because I've been off jiu-jitsu forever, but I had all the Cicero Costa guys teaching at my place, and I was like, so I was spent a few months drilling and starting to roll, whatever else and then I was going down to Gringo's place every week, and I'm almost glad for this COVID thing, man, because I was so fucking mangled by these kids. They're just fucking me up every week. I'm like, my jiu-jitsu days are over, right? But I do a lot of running, and I really want to do I've done some mountain races in Europe and stuff like that. I got to be I did the Red Bull 400 in Germany, and I got to be Canada's like flag bearer for that. That was pretty cool. I've done a few marathons. I want to do an ultra And I want to do the Great Wall of China marathon when we can finally get back on airplanes. Because like that was something that was kind of on my list. It's supposed to be one of the hardest ones in the world. And I'm like, if you're gonna do anything, I'm like, you should fucking get after it and go big. So that's on my list of things to do. Like the days of getting punched in the head are gone. Like and I got a couple surgeries coming up on my neck, so the jiu-jitsu days are over. But I still got some knees. So I'll run on those for a little bit. So a couple races in cool places, and yeah, nothing too crazy. But if you're going to do it, man, go do something really awesome, man. Like no one should aim small. Get up, like do something wicked. Right. So that's, China. I want to go to China.
Like it. So when, obviously going from that fighter to a club owner, that's a big transition. So like how, like I know you kind of said like it was that, okay, we're going to train competitors and then you don't do that anymore. What type of transition, like how did you decide, okay, I want to be a club owner now?
I was very fortunate and it came very natural for me where like the judo club that I began in, we started training jiu-jitsu in there. So I had my own little group and I was at Shaw's all the time training in Toronto. And then an opportunity for some mat space came up and I jumped on it. And all my friends and students came with me. So I kind of just walked in the door like 20 years ago, 16 years ago, there really wasn't any gyms or martial arts. So we kind of made that part up, you know what I mean? Like not like today. So the transition was pretty easy because there was no blueprint anyway. We didn't know what we were doing. We were just kind of doing it. Right. And then my second location, I was there for like maybe 2-3 years. And then I moved again and we just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then, I still make a lot of expensive mistakes as a gym owner. Like it's a hard business. There's not a lot of margin for error. You know what I mean? But like the transition for me was smooth because all my friends were with me and came with me from day one. And they kind of just got real jobs and let me be the leader, you know what I mean, of the gym. And they're all still doing what they're doing. And I'm still doing my doing. I still have the same guys on the mats with me that I had 20 years ago. Right. So but they went on to be teachers and shit and and cops and whatever. And I did this, right. They had more common sense. It was really, like I said, it was easy transition because there was no plan to follow. You just wing it and it kind of worked. Right. So
I asked this question to Fernando. Anybody out there who's looking to open like a martial arts school, like what advice would you give them?
Did he say don't? Because that's the advice I give.
He said study business thoroughly.
Yeah, Fernando and I do things so completely opposite. You know what I mean? Like he's very passionate about the sport and he loves his guys and it shows. You know what I mean? Because Fernando's guys will do anything for him, but he's also all business and he's a boss. Where I'm not a boss, man. I'm a leader, but being a leader and being a boss are two different things. Fernando wants something done, he's going to tell you to fucking do it, and you're going to get it done. If I want you to do something, I'm going to maybe ask or suggest that maybe you do it, and then when you don't do it, I'll do it myself, and I'll pay you anyway. Like, that's kind of how it works at my place. So, like, it is, you got to know the business world inside and out. You got to know people. You got to know how to sell. You got to know, like, marketing. It is a hard job. Anyone in self-employed and any entrepreneur, you better do your research. But I know my product. And so does Fernando. That's why it's an easy sell, right? I think for anyone who wants to get into this trade, you better believe in what you're doing. Because if you don't, it's going to come out real quick and you're going to lose your shirt, right? If you're just in it for the money, you don't love the martial arts, people will figure it out pretty fast and that'll be the end of it, right? Fernando is very successful because he really does love what he does. You know what I mean? He loves his job. He loves his martial art and he's a boss on top of that. Me, I wing the boss business part, but I do love what I do. So it always kind of works out where people are loyal and they stick it out. Right. So yeah, it's a hard gig, man. My first answer is I'm sticking with that. Just don't do it. Yeah.
don't go in there.
And you're not going to like what you find. So.
The one thing that I've really noticed, especially for you, for when you do your social media stuff, and then as you even said during your gradings, all about donating to charity. Mm-hmm. Is you guys do a lot of work with the city of Oshawa.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
How important is it? Because I don't really get to see other clubs do it, right? That's why I want to highlight you on this. Yeah. And again, I'm not saying clubs don't do it. So if anybody's offended by that, please don't say that. But how do you think like it is so important for you guys to be involved in the community like that?
I've got a lot of reasons for it. You're gonna make me all misty, dude. I love where I live. I love my city. I'm everything I am because this place built me up and followed me and still carries me to this day. So I have a lot to be thankful for, and also I have a lot of support in the community, business wise, and like through everything. You know what I mean? So I want to give back as much as I can. Also, like growing up like I did, and being growing up a little rougher, and I'm extremely thankful for all I have. So I feel it's important to give people a leg up whenever you can, because people gave me a chance in life where, I could end this ride one turn. I could have ended up, a lot different. Right. So I want to give back as much as I can. And our city it's a rough city, and people need a lot of help. And so I continue to give back in lots of different charities, and I'm always out there doing something. And it's to the point where it's become where like people know that I'm the guy to go to when they need something done, or they needs attention drawn to it, or some help. And I'm just fucking happy to play that role now. You know what I mean? Like I enjoy it. It's one of the best parts of the job, because now we're just as notorious with the city, with the community service and the charities that we do as we are with our martial arts now. Right. And to me, that's super important, because your biggest and most important fans are always going to be in your backyard, and you got to take care of those people, like I love this fucking place, man. I've been all over the world and I love coming home. Like, it's a weird place, man, but it treats me like royalty. And so I got to give back every chance I can. Right. So I think it's important.
What are some of the, I guess what are some of the areas of like the city of Oshawa that you're looking to improve on, or you're looking to help out?
Oshawa's kind of weird, where it's like, it's got little pockets of like rougher neighborhoods, I mean, like any city, the South End is always like the South End. And that's where I keep my gym down there, because, the real estate is cheap, and it's where it requires my most attention as well. Like, so if you're on the north end of town, every kid can afford to play hockey. They don't need me. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I try to keep everything kind of where I'm accessible to, people who, maybe need a leg up, and because that's huge to me. Like, we support a lot of families. I do fundraisers every year, so a lot of kids can train, or I just pay for it myself, or whatever. What's it cost me, to have a kid on the mats, get him a gi, it sucks because you help out these families and these kids, whatever, and your heart gets broken so many times. But you get that one kid that finishes high school, or comes back, gets into college, or finishes his apprenticeship or something like that. You're like, fuck yeah, man, it was all worth it. For every kid that burnt you, or didn't, you didn't get that appreciation or love back, that it's all worth it for that, family that you help out or whatever. Right. So our south end of town is pretty rough, and there's, it's like anywhere else, drugs and gangs, and, we're here, Oshawa is like that white trash kind of pill popping crime community. You know what I mean? So I fit in fine.
One big happy family.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned something that's, I think, very important. We talk about like there's gyms that like, hey, I want to build world champions, or like I want to build the sport. I think what you're doing is probably more important than even beyond those things. It's helping the community. I think that's what we're getting at.
I think both are important, right? And I want to build resilient people and hardworking kids. You know what I mean? Like I would love to make a world champion one day, but that's Fernando's job, not mine. You know what I mean? That's what he's going to do. Or Cal Samurai, they're going to make world championship kickboxers. So I'm like, I'd like to make some world championship people. You know what I mean? Like, I just want kids to get through high school and get into college and do whatever they can do and find their way in life. Because, like, I'm a prime example of, like, you can fuck it all up and still be okay. So no matter where you are, you can figure it out. So, that's I like that part of the job where, like I said, sometimes you get your heart broken, but it's totally worth it when you get a success story out of it. You know what I mean? So it's and being community minded like that has led me to so many other like opportunities and avenues, speaking at places, and you know what I mean, and even now, like, it's created job like that has created job opportunities for me and stuff like that. So it's like you're gonna find a lot of business comes out of that community mind as well too, right? It's important. So it never hurts to be nice to people, man. That's all.
It goes all that way back to just giving back, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
How you be successful. It's like if you find success, is how do you give that back to your community and everybody else?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I think, well, the other thing is lead by example too, right? Like I do, I put stuff out on social media, but I'll tell you right now, I do way more shit behind closed doors than I do like to like, you know, you see so many people out there just with their camera phone out, trying to just looking for attention for themselves. You know what I mean? Like, that's not why you should be doing things, right? I'm not dropping off a truckload of food and taking pictures and blasting it online because I want to look cool. I'm doing it so maybe someone else will do that shit. You know what I mean? Like, but people are attention whores, and that's not really, like I said, I take care of a lot of people with the cameras off. You know what I mean? People don't need to know. It's yeah, I do it for me. Like, it's selfish, like, but I want to. Helping someone else makes me feel good. You know what I mean? So if that's a bad thing, like, sorry, but like, if I can have a good day because I helped someone out or did something good and I'm helping someone at the same time, like, everyone's winning, you know what I mean? But it's, we live in a world where people don't want to do anything nice for someone if no one else is watching. I'm like, that shouldn't be like that. You know what I mean? But I don't know. Yeah. Be nice. It takes no energy to be nice to people, man, and do good things. Like, really doesn't. Right. And if you can help and you can motivate other people to do the same, then your job's done. Right.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting, especially when when all the restrictions are kind of off. So everybody can kind of get back to a sense of normal. And then how did you take the time that you were off, and what did you learn from it? And how can you give more to community or more to everybody else as well?
Yeah. I think I found throughout this whole thing, when it first started getting weird, I thought you kind of saw the worst in people, but then it kind of started to smooth out. People chilled out a little bit, and I find people throughout this thing have been helpful and friendly for the most part. Everyone's a little bit stressed, so you know, if someone's having a shit day and they're rude, I try not to judge them too much. But like, I think I know I personally have taken in my own life with business and home life and everything else, I've taken a step back and taken a little bit of breath and realized like how fast it's all going by. You know, so you got to kind of look around. Like, I spent the last 4 months with my son, which I've never got to do, you know what I mean? And being at home with my family and stuff, it's like massive. Right. So hopefully, and I know a lot of people said the same, hopefully we don't forget too quickly, right? And when it all gets back to normal, everyone just goes back to working 60 hours a week and spending more than they have. But sadly, people are pretty stupid, and we probably will. So, what are you going to do?
It's like, I'm very pessimistic on my views.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I always want what's best. But like I said, we're the human race they forget quick. Right. That's why we keep having world wars. So we didn't figure it out.
You got a good heart. You got a good heart. You want to give back to the community. I gave you a lot. You want to give them maybe the opportunities that you found walking through the rain where the light was shining on that dojo back in the day.
Yeah, absolutely. So and that's also where that's why I like sharing my story too, man. So hopefully that motivates someone too. Cause man, when I found martial arts, I was in one of the worst spots I had in my life. You know what I mean? And I just stumbled into it. So there's always some hope out there for people. So that's the thing. If you've had if you got a good story, you should share it as much as you can. Cause maybe that motivates someone else. You know what I mean? And that's what you guys are telling everyone's story now, man. That shit's important to go listen to what people have to say. Cause maybe it's not me, but maybe it's someone else that you have on that they share something that motivates someone else to go do something good. Right. Who knows, man? You got to be positive and just be nice to people and just keep working hard. Things will turn out okay.
So when you kind of look back at all the days of training and road stories, especially going and competing in Montreal or the reservations, what's kind of
one of those stories that kind of really stick out for you? You're going to get him in trouble, but go on.
No. Honestly, I don't even know where to start. I remember
Oh, those were the days.
We went down to, we used to go down to Chicago, Hammond, Indiana. Fucking scary place. We used to go down there to fight for Shudo, Ironheart Crown all the time. Me, Tony, Monkey, like we would go down there. And we went down there with Monkey. And he fought Miguel Torres. It was a bloodbath. It was Monkey was crazy things in this fight. Miguel Torres was the greatest fighter in the world at that point. And I think Monkey, I can't remember if you had him. He had Stephan Bonner in his corner and me in Monkey's corner. And Monkey's got, I think he's got a toe hold on him. And we're like screaming, we're like, break it, right? And he looks at this and he's like, it's already broken. Like, and Miguel Torres' foot is turned like this. It's turned the other way, right?
It's already broken. What do you do?
And then Miguel's like a serial killer. Like, he's not even blinking, right? So I'm like, holy shit. And then Bonner's in the corner and he's chirping Monkey. He's talking all sorts of shit. He's quitting. And Monkey looks at him and Bonner just got knocked out by Machida like recently. And he's like you quit against Machida? Like, he chirps him back right in the middle of the fight or something like that. And then anyways, and I think the second or third round, Monkey eats a big knee in the face and it breaks his, like, shatters his fucking nose. He still whistles out of it to this day. Anyways, the fight was stopped a little later on because he just couldn't go anymore. He was fucked. So after the fight, this fight was so bloody they're like Bambi on ice. They were both slipping all over the place. It was crazy.
Man.
So
they're both cut, bleeding everywhere.
It was disgusting. So of course we're all the way down in South Chicago or Hammond or whatever, and no one's got any insurance. Like, we all just bombed it down there. So we got to pile Monkey in the car and drive him back to Canada because his face is fucking smashed. So we stop at this we stop on this gas station on the way out near where we fought. And everyone's pumping gas, and then you kind of hear like some noise, like pop, pop, and zip, zip. And then all of a sudden, we're like, what the fuck is that? And next thing you know, there's two, like, just gunfire. Like, people just start shooting. We're like, holy shit. So, like, people are just shooting at each other in the park next to us. So we all just dive into these cars, and people are like tucking down, like, driving. I didn't even know if they pulled the fucking nozzle out of the gas tank. Everyone just pinned it out of there and just ripped it back to Canada so we could fix Monkey's nose, pretty much. Like, so that a lot of shit like that happened. So it was pretty fun. So then Monkey got his nose busted. We ended up in the middle of a gunfight, and just Stephan Bonner got shit talked. It was pretty.
It's a typical night. It's a typical Tuesday for
it was a
Bruckmann clan.
Pretty good night. Now, that's my version of the story. Did it really happen like that? I don't know, because I'm always the drunk guy after the fights, right? So I never really know. So, but that shit was also the best part about the ride, is like, it wasn't structured like it was today. Like, everything with MMA now is like sanctioning bodies and commissions and everything's to the minute. Like, back then it was just insane. Like, you just show up and fight half the time. We went to this place. Me, Monkeys, Jason St. Louis, a few other guys. We went down to this place called Hicksville, Ohio, for a fight. And we get there, in St. Louis fighting, and we're in like a tool shed at a fucking fairgrounds in Hicksville.
Sorry, this is Jason St. Louis, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
And first off, it's a square cage, so, like, it's a cage, but it's square, so.
It's a fucking box.
Yeah, right. Which I'm like, fuck, whatever. Back then, that didn't even surprise us that much. We're like, all right, whatever. And then now we're sitting around. There's a bunch of rednecks and hillbillies standing around, like, guys just hucking butts and having Harley Davidson bandanas on. And we're like, that's St. Louis guy over there. We're like, that's who we're fighting. We're like, we'll make short work of this guy, get our $100 and go home, right? So wait around for a couple hours. Do a bullshit warm up, walk out to the cage, and then St. Louis guy comes out. We're like, that's not the same guy. Then big, huge fucking stud D1 wrestler in his American flag shorts walks out. And we're like, holy fuck. And then, and we're like, we're here now. Fight starts. St. Louis throws a couple jabs. Guy double legs him, spikes him into the corner of the cage, and just starts pounding. And this guy, he was a big kid. Like, as soon as he hit a couple shots in the ribs, I'm like, uh-oh. And then he just started teeing off in St. Louis' face. And then I can't remember, I think I don't remember the order, but like I think Monkey threw the towel over the cage, and before the towel even hit the floor, like we had the cage door open and running in because we thought he was dead. And then same thing, we went to we had no help. We had to go to. He was so beat up that we had to take him to the hospital.
Oh boy!
So we took him to the hospital and got him looked at. He's shattered, like broken orbital, and he's all messed up. But we ended up pumped him full of meds, and we ended up just taking him back to Toronto anyway. And then. But he couldn't fly because his head was crushed. So he had to stay in Ontario because he was out in Calgary or something like that. So he had to stay in Ontario for like an extra 4 or 5 weeks because we couldn't transport him. And then I think he ended up getting like a $40,000 bill in the mail, like years later from Ohio. So like,
from Hicksville, USA.
Yeah. So like,
what the hell's this?
So when these kids are out there competing and be like, "There's no fresh fruit in our dressing room," like, fuck off, man. Like, we almost died for this. All right, so I don't want to hear about it.
We paid our dues.
I know you think Hicksville got their $40,000? Not a fucking chance, man. Like we literally almost all died, like several occasions doing shit like this.
If we get cease and desist letters from Hicksville, we'll edit this part out.
For sure. So, these are all alleged stories, by the way. They may may or may not have happened, right? So, yeah, like that.
Disclaimer: everything on this podcast is false.
And to me, that's always the best stuff, man. It's like stories like that. It's like I love that shit because it was the wild, wild west. That was all the crazy stories from the road were like they were the best part of the job. Like you never knew it was going to happen because it wasn't really a job yet. It was just kind of this weird adventure. You know what I mean? It was just we're just making it up. It was the best. So,
and that plays into your podcast,
yes,
which may be called the
Justin Bruckmann Adventure. So we're on a bit of a timeout right now. So that's why I'm so happy to hang out with you guys tonight. So
lovely.
So we're going for about 1.5 years, and my partner just needed a little time. He's busy right now, so with his other job and stuff like that. So he's doing his thing, and I'm just hanging out at home, and hopefully we'll get back to it soon. And I've also had like a couple other people ask me if I want to do something with them. So man, I like to talk, hang out with my friends, tell dick and fart jokes and fight stories. Like, so the more I can do
That's everything this podcast is about.
Yeah, right. So the more I can do that, the better. You know what I mean? So hopefully my partner and I get back to work sometime soon. But if not, that's okay too. I'll figure something else out. So there's always room in the entertainment world for me. I'll find my way. So
yeah, there's always a place where they tell stories. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Should we also tell a story of how we got you on this podcast?
I asked you, didn't I?
Yeah. It was funny because I was just like, I was sitting there. He's like, "Get me on your goddamn podcast." I'm like, "What? Yeah, okay, no problem."
Yeah. I was like, "Well, I'm sitting there watching. You're like, you have every one of my friends on. You didn't ask me." I'm like, "What the fuck did I do?" I'm like, "Put me on your goddamn podcast." Like,
hey fucker, why haven't you asked me yet? I blame Aaron. You know, I wanted to have you on episode 1, 2, 3.
I'm not sure I'd buy that either.
This fucking guy over here without a soul. He's like, nah, I think we're gonna leave Justin Bruckmann off.
No, he doesn't sound like any fun at all.
No.
Yeah, no. No, it's so especially like now that like you see the road that was paved of like again going to all these different towns, $100 for a fight, no medical insurance, and now you see it so structured, and you look at even like fighters nowadays are still arguing and fighting for pay, and meanwhile boxing is still such a high profile sport where they're making X amount of money. Do you see it making more, or you see like guys shut up? Like,
no,
what's your opinion on it?
I think they should all get paid more because when you get in there, you're giving something away that you're never going to get back, and that's your health. You know what I mean? And so you should be compensated for that. Like some people should get, like any sport, like the best should get paid the most money. You know what I mean? That's the way it should be. But until everyone somehow sticks together and figures it out, that's not going to happen, right? Some guys, it's a world where it's every man for himself. If you don't want to fight for 10 grand, the next guy will. Because the fans don't know what they're watching anyway. They just see violence. They don't see the skill level involved, right? They think that, Conor McGregor is the best fighter in the world. We all know that he's not. He's the highest paid, but he's not the best. You know what I mean? Like, because
he's the biggest draw, but
right.
he's not the
That's
best.
it. Because it's sports entertainment, right? It's who sells the most tickets. There's no ranking system in the UFC. We all know this. You know what I mean? You can talk your way into a title fight.
Ranking system.
Yeah. But it's but until everyone decides to work together, that's the pay scale is never going to change, because the guy coming up behind you is looking to slit your throat to take your job no matter what, right? So he'll do it for even less just to be on TV. But I think the pay will continue to grow slowly no matter what, just as the sport grows and inflation and everything else, right? So, but if people sat down and they made it unionized or whatever else, or came up with some sort of system, then everyone would benefit. But now, it's like the rest of the planet, 1% is getting all the money and everyone else is just sitting around table scraps, right? That's just how it works. So,
do you see like a collective bargaining agreement or like unionization or profit sharing or something in the UFC or in other MMA organizations coming up in the next, let's say few years, 5 years, 10 years?
I don't know about that, but what you do see is better management, right? And the best, good management is going to get you, most that they can. And they're also going to make you see your own worth. I think that's where a lot of people have problems too, is they don't know their own value, right? So some people, and that could be you think you're worth more than you are, or you think you're not worth as much. You know what I mean? It can go both ways. So I think with people getting better management and more education on that side of it, the fighters are going to be more taken care of too, right? So just telling people and teaching them, educating them on what their worth actually is. I think that's probably I think that's going to be the kind of the next big thing. And because you've seen the growth in management in the last few years, you know what I mean? But in the management too, I'm you're getting a percentage. So you should want these guys to get paid shit tons, because you're getting your cut too. So, but I think I think that the fighters need to educate themselves on proper representation. That's the biggest thing, right? So whether that's collective in a union, or that's just having someone proper management out for your best interests, I don't know. But I think the management is probably going to be the way that it goes, really, not as a group. So
I think that was on display, especially with Masvidal holding out, and he got what he wanted. And because I think it was, how did the whole Fight Island thing go? He wanted to have the fight. They said no. Then they went to Gilbert Burns. And after Gilbert Burns was out, then they went back to Masvidal. But then they're like, no, we're not going to give you until what I get, right? Yeah.
He wanted his pay-per-view points or something like that. But that's there's a guy that he knows his worth. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So he knows what he's worth, and it's his management's job to go get that money for them, right? They played that out pretty smart. You know what I mean? They needed him, because that card, it was still a decent card, but if you can throw, and Masvidal had nothing to lose. He's still a superstar. No. Take a fight like that, take that on a week's notice. What do you got to lose? He's probably going to get a rematch. He's probably, he got paid millions for it, probably, so good on him, right? And hopefully that shows, but other people are going to think, well, I should hold out too. I'm you're just going to fuck yourself if you do that too, though, right? Because Masvidal has the power to hold out and take what until he gets what he wants, right? Where, when you're entry level UFC, you're taking what you get. That's the thing with the UFC; they have a monopoly. You really do just get what you get, right? Until you're in there for a while, right? If you have a winning record, then you can negotiate for more. But until then, you're working for minimum wage, just like anyone else, right? So,
do you think if he had a full camp, it would be a different fight, or do you think the outcome's still the same?
No, I think it would it would have been much more competitive. Masvidal has I think Masvidal has I think he has the best IQ in the business. He really does. So if you gave him, if he knew he was fighting that guy 8 weeks out, I think you'd see, maybe he loses anyway, but I think you'd see a way better performance. You know what I mean? Because Masvidal, if he doesn't want to get taken down, he's not getting taken down. You know what I mean? So if you give him time to prepare and study, he'll find a way to potentially win that fight. I think that give him more time to train. Usman tries to chip away and lean on him, but eventually Masvidal breaks him in the 4th or 5th because he's got that extra gear still where he didn't have this time, right? That's one thing he's really good at too, is like, you're not going to break Masvidal. Even if you are that much better at him than him, you're going to wear down before he does. And he's going to, and by then he's got you figured out. So now he knows your game plan and you're tired, then you're fucked because he's a savage, right? So I think it has potential to be a different outcome if given more time, for sure. So.
Who are some fighters locally that you see coming up that are on the brink of getting to like that next level?
I personally have one kid, James Clark, who I fucking love. He's a 125er, and he's just a little redneck kid from up Lindsay, and he had a rocky start. He started TKO, whatever, and he trains at one of my friends' gyms, and then we start hanging out more. And then he's on like a 6-fight tear with me. And we did the World Championships in Singapore, and he lost a split decision in the finals there. Like, the kid made weight 4 days in a row, had 4 fights, and lost a split decision in the finals of the Worlds. He's a great talker and everything else. He's very likable. Like, he's a guy, I think, that give him a little bit more experience. Like, you could probably catch him, at one FC or maybe Bellator or something like that. And then guys around here, there's some guys that are at a Parabellum that are fucking terrifying. Scott Hudson's an animal. Josh Hill, he's with Bellator now. He's always one of my favorites. It's nice to see him in a big show. There's I don't know. There's so much talent I can't even keep up with anymore. It's not like it was 10 years ago where everyone was kind of, there's like 20 of us, man. Like, now you're going to Parabellum or Cal Samra. There's like, holy shit, you can't even keep up all the names. There's so many good kids out there, right? They're scary.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's how I feel trying to follow the local scene now. Like 10 years ago, it's like, okay, like that guy, that girl, that guy. Now it's like, oh, there's so much talent that can be like on the cusp of like breaking into like a major show.
Yeah. Yeah, it really, you just can't keep up, right? And the competition is so stiff now too. Like, as these gyms are everywhere, you know what I mean? Like there's actual MMA gyms. Like, Parabellum is like an MMA gym, where everyone else is a Jiu Jitsu academy or a Thai boxing school, and we do some MMA too. Like, now, TriStar's a MMA gym, and like there's places like that. That's all they're doing, right? So the competition is really, really high. So there's for me to narrow it down to like, a couple names is really hard because there's so much talent now in this area, for sure.
So especially now, obviously when you get your school back opened up, like, what's kind of the future plans, things that you guys, I know the running is what you wanted to do, especially the marathon, but like, kind of like, what do you have planned also into the future?
Honestly, I don't know, man. Everything is so uncertain right now. I just want to get my doors open, and I'm still holding out on that. Like, I know a lot of the other academies are opening up, but I don't run like them, so it's going to take a little bit more time for me to get going. I do know, when we do open, my doors are so open to every single gym to walk in, which is, my mats are just open to anyone, anytime. You know what I mean? For any team, I don't care. But that's one of those things where, like, we're going to have to start watching now because, of this whole COVID thing. It's like, you can't just go bounce around and hit gyms anymore as much as you used to. I think that's something that's going to change. Hopefully it doesn't last too long, but, and the other thing too is like, this has taught me, you got to watch every single penny. Like, we're bleeding to death right now. Right. Whereas maybe if I didn't let those 30 kids train for free, I'd be paying my rent a little bit easier right now. Like, you gotta, for me, I think I have to really start to learn how to run my place like more of a business. Right now, the loyalty, because I don't treat it like that, the loyalty of my guys are keeping it going for me. But at the same time, like, I really got a big reality check about, the money side of things. Really got to buckle down on stuff like that. But I think this thing is going to make us just more resilient, man. I'll tell you, the most resilient people on the planet are Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu instructors, because we always fuck it up, but we always figure out a way to fix it. You know what I mean? Like, I think Fernando's probably the only guy I know that opened up a school and it worked. You know what I mean? Like, the first time. Everyone else just tried to open it, crashed it,
Take
opened another
two,
one.
take three.
Yeah.
Take four.
Like it's just, like I think you're going to see a lot more respect within our community leaders, because I've noticed that as well. Like all these teams that didn't really talk or get along, everyone was like, now we're like, holy shit, we got to stick together or we're all going to die. You know what I mean? So I think there's going to be a lot more camaraderie between different academies. And I think that we're going to come out of it and we're going to be okay. And I don't know, man. Love heals all, man. It'll be all right.
Love heals all.
Love heals all.
Leave the petty bullshit. We all train jiu-jitsu. Let's just get together and fucking train as soon as we can.
That's the truth, man. It really is the truth. And it's these academies that have been holding out, not letting their school, not letting their kids go to different schools and cross train this and that. Like they always end up paying for it in the end with their greed and their lack of confidence. Right. And that's going to come out in the wash big time before this whole thing is over. Right. Cause you got to look after your people, and looking after my people is saying train wherever you want. Right. Cause I know you're going to come home to daddy when it's all over. So, right.
Do you think that was all just like instructors just not being confident with their own loyalty of their students, or is it just a money thing?
It's both. Yeah.
Both?
Yeah, definitely. I think, well, you have to protect your investment. So, if I'm like, you're going over and training over here and you decide you want to go over there, then I'm out $100 a month. Right. But that's for me, what I figured out is like, okay, go train there, go train. You can train where you like, as long as I know and they're cool with it. Because then why wouldn't you come home if you have the luxury of visiting these other places, as long as you're respectful and you're not abusing it? Like, why wouldn't you come back? So people see it from the financial point of view, but I think a lot of it is confidence too, where they're afraid they're going to lose a student to a better or a different instructor. I'm like, go steal gringo shit and bring it back and show me what you did. You know what I mean? That's the way I look at it. I'm like, none of us have all the own answers. So if my students are improving, I'm going to learn, and it's only going to look good on me anyway. Right. So, and I've felt like that for years and years and years. And I've been like, that's something I'm really proud of, is like, I've brought so many different schools together to cross train and whatever else over the years, where like back when we started, that wasn't a thing. You went to someone else's gym, man, you were a fucking rat, you know what I mean? And someone was going to kill you for it. Like, so I've never really liked that very much, but I think it's correcting itself for sure.
I think so too. And I think just on the topic of cross training, like myself personally, I've been to a lot of gyms. I think you may be one of the few gyms in the GTA I haven't visited that I think I need to fucking go out there and steal your shit and bring it back. But
yeah, you haven't had ringworm unless you have Oshawa ringworm. Right?
Is that like nuclear level, like just it's burning?
It takes a bit.
I think you can also get that in Oshawa.
we get it all for you. No, yeah, you guys are always welcome at my place, man. Listen, my doors are open to every single team, every person. It doesn't matter, man. I just don't roll like that. Like, I want everyone. I'm on my mats, right? You're going to have a hard time when you come in the door, because I expect you to beat me up when I come to your place too. You know what I mean? That's just how it is. But like, people are going to be nice and respectful, but you still want anyone walks in, I want you to know you're in the right fucking place. So, and you find that out by how hard people beat on you, right? So. But yeah, come play with us anytime you want, man. Always.
I'm down. I'm down to come pajama wrestle with you.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, you won't get me, man. I'm officially retired, but you'll get someone. So I'll find someone for you to play with.
I don't know. That's the one thing I've never understood, is like the closed door, I think, mentality. At the end of the day, like, I even tell the guys that me and Aaron are training, like, listen, I'm like, go to seminars. I actually had somebody, like a 46-year-old man, ask me permission to go train at another school. I'm like, what are you, 5? Like, go train. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, but that's I know, I understand what you're saying, but that's important. It should be like, it should be, right? It's still weird, but like, my guys can go where they want, but you got to tell me. I will never say no. I've never said no. It's just out of respect to me, and I'm here to protect you. So if you're going to some school who I know they're a bunch of fucking goofs, or they're not even legit jiu-jitsu, I'm like, no, you can't go there, right? Because
why? Because they suck. That's why. But go here. It's better.
Right. I'm like, I want you to
get hurt. That's why.
That's another reason too. Yeah,
for sure. And they don't deserve your mat time. right? If you're going and training someone who's a fraud, I'm like, they don't deserve your mat time. They don't deserve your information. They don't deserve your body, right? Like, because they're still in this job, in this industry, there's still frauds out there, right? But if you're like, oh, I'd like to go to Fernando's, I want to go Omar's or here or there, I'm like, absolutely go there for sure, because those guys I love and respect, I know they're going to take care of you. I know you're going to learn, right? So I don't care who you are. Like, if you're from my gym, yeah, they're going to come to me and say, Justin, hey, do you mind if I go over here? I'm like, absolutely, go for it. It should be like that. That's a sign of respect. That means you're a good fucking teacher. Don't doubt yourself. You're beautiful.
You have a great sexy radio voice, by the way.
You're welcome.
It must be that mic. That must be that microphone. Me and Aaron, we got to get some equipment.
No, you don't, man. It's all for show. Listen, you
want
want
me
to record your new voicemail message for you? I can do that. You just call, listen to me all the time. Oh yeah.
Just call it back every day.
Yeah. Oh, there he is.
Hey, this is Justin Bruckmann.
That's right.
Leave a message after the tone and your pants.
And repeat.
Amazing.
Sweet Jesus.
Well, Mr. Bruckmann,
yeah.
It has been an absolute pleasure with you here today. We had a great time. We always like to let you close it off. So if there's anybody you want to thank, anything you want to talk about before we close it out.
We usually like to ask any sponsors that you like to thank, because we don't have any.
No, I get it. No, you know what? No, man, we'll leave that part out of it. I'm actually just very thankful you guys had me on. I'm kind of getting out of practice. So I'm just happy to hang out with some friends. And I like to give homework assignments. And just, I mentioned earlier, just be kind, man. Do something nice for someone, man. You never know when someone's having the fucking worst day ever and might not see tomorrow. So stop, give people your time, whether it's open the door, buy a cup of coffee, do something nice, do something kind. And hopefully they go do the same thing. So you might not say that person, but maybe the attitude you give them for the day will go continue on and they'll help someone else. Right?
Those are some fantastic closing words. And
got it.
One more thing. Don't smoke crack.
Don't smoke crack. There's not much to ask for, really, is it? It's not.
We're setting the bar very, very, very low, but then from there we can raise the bar.
Well, listen, you guys come train with me. I'm going to drive you around some neighborhoods, and then you'd be like, oh yeah, don't smoke crack. So,
oh yeah, don't
show you firsthand why you don't smoke crack.
It's the sound advice.
Yeah. All right, boys.
I'll have to give you the story another time of Tony driving me around his former neighborhoods. I'm like, yeah.
Oh, I bet. I bet.
That's Tony Isaac's a former guest. I tried to get him to spill that on the podcast that we had him on previously. About next time.
Tony's too proper, man. He's too proper.
He is.
He's a politician now. So, all right, boys. I'll catch you guys later. Thanks a lot for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Have a great one.
All right.
It was awesome. Thanks for coming on.
You got it, man. See you guys.
Take care.
Peace. Get out of here. Fuck off.
Choking Hazard Podcast.